Welcome to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, and thank you all for joining. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope you all are having a great week so far. We are well into the final months of the year, so hope that everyone is preparing for the upcoming holiday season and that you are planning to take some time away from work or your your business to spend some time with your family and just relax. I know for me personally, it's the time of the year where I'm just holding on, holding on to get to for those of us in the US, holding on to get to Thanksgiving. Great. So I hope, like I said, that everybody is doing well, and I hope you're having a good fall, because we still are in fall, and also hope that you are having a good week. So let's talk about our guest today. I'll be joined by Shereese Floyd. She is the founder and chief storytelling officer at Witness My Life, a communications firm that partners with corporations and universities to create and implement women's leadership programs. Shereese brings over 18 years of marketing and PR experience to this role. She is also an award-winning speechwriter and businesswoman who has been recognized for her creativity in the areas of storytelling and brand messaging. With her marketing expertise, she's helped organizations raise over $2 million. Wow. I can't wait to have a conversation with Shereese next. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right. I am so excited to welcome Shereese into the Gyrl podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyra.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Why don't you tell everyone out there listening or watching who you are and what you do?
So I am Shereese Floyd. I am an executive coach for women entrepreneurs, for women business leaders. I do leadership and personal development. But what I really, truly do is help women raise their voices and tell their stories so that they are impossible to ignore.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love that. And it's so needed across all the areas of entrepreneurship and in the everyday workforce. So kudos to you. All right. So let's talk about that. Let's start, because really being able to elevate your voice is understanding who you are and having a personal brand. So let's talk about why it's important for women to establish and create their personal brands.
Well, the thing that the biggest myth about a personal brand is that somehow it's attached to a company. But the reality is that every one of us has a personal brand independent of that. And all you have to do is ask somebody what they think of somebody else, and that will tell you what that person's personal brand actually is. And so when you're talking about building it for women, we have seen the effects of women being managed historically and how that is playing out in our lives, with women not speaking up, we not making as much money as men. We don't raise a lot of capital for our businesses, all of those sorts of things. And so your personal brand becomes really important, because it's the only thing really that you own and that is transferable between industries. And if something were to happen to the job that you currently have, or COVID hits and you have to pivot your business, your personal brand is yours and you will always have something to build on.
Yes, that is so true. I've seen so many times in just the corporate workforce how some women are just defined by the roles that they're in. And it's who are you outside of this? If they told you tomorrow to leave and never come back, who are you? How can you go to that next place and establish yourself? And I think even at a job that I was previously at, someone always used to say, well, perception is reality. And it's essentially what you said. It's like, yes, when you ask people what they think of someone, I mean, that's what people think. That's who you are in that workforce, right? Because it's like, yeah, well, this person, yeah, they never really get back to you. They're always cutting people off in meetings. Like that becomes like a brand.
It does. It does. And I do want to say in context when I say that, because sometimes you can ask people what they think of somebody and they are being petty and there's some other stuff that we don't know about. So that's not always that it's 100% your brand or true, but I am talking in the realm of professionalism.
Yes.
That way. Yeah.
And also too, like you said, Shereese, in the professional world, sometimes it could be there could be petty people.
Oh gosh, very true.
There could be petty people there too. But yes, it's so important to establish a brand that who you are, like who you authentically are, that you can take that and travel from place to place. And often what I find is that when you are living in this world of like, I'm this person at work, but then I'm really this person, like my true self is who I am when I go home. Like those things always somehow they bump heads.
They do. They clash. Eventually you will have that moment. And then you start asking the questions, which listeners may be asking themselves now: who am I? What do I want out of life? What am I here to do? And you are unfulfilled. And that's usually because you are not really walking through the world as your authentic self. You are hiding behind a title. You're hiding behind this idea of executive presence, because executive presence is really like cloning us all. It's really, you're not in your authentic space and you're not in alignment with who you are. So if you're asking yourself those questions, that's where you want to start. You're code switching, as we call it.
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought up executive presence because, oh my gosh, you're right. If the world told you, you would just be a clone of another person. And I will never forget, I will say two companies ago, I was I'd gone on a business trip for a sales call, like we gone to Canada, and I was with one of our executives and then a couple other salespeople. And so we were it was really more like, it was more of a store visit, walk around. Now I know, like, I have a lot of strength in like personal and relationship building. So I started, when I met those people earlier in the day, to just sort of build these little relationships with them. And so we were walking through the store and just talking about marketing and, what we could do, these things, And then I remember and it was very different from the executive. So he was an older gentleman. And the way he approached everything, I was like, oh God, like this is just so salesy. Like you're not really connecting to people. You're just trying to sell them something. Right. And so I'll never forget, I got back like that next week and he called me to come up to his office and gave me a book on executive presence. Because, he's like, well, like I know like you were building like rapport, you have great rapport with them, but like, you also want to do, and it was just very like regimented in the way that he did it. And I said to him, I said, well, respectfully, I appreciate your feedback because I always appreciate feedback that I can take and grow from. But I also, want you to respect what I bring to the table as a leader. And I said, and my style is to connect to people because I want people to know that, like, I'm not just here to try and sell you something or to get the money. I mean, I want to genuinely connect to you all because that's important. It should be important to all businesses that we connect and we have similar values before we're just going along down this road with people. So you are so right. I mean, people, they will try to clone you into what they want you to be.
Exactly. That's how we end up in rooms full of people wearing blue and black suits.
Yes. No, I'm not a blue and black suit wearer.
No, we're not that.
No.
Nothing inherently wrong with blue and black suits, but when you look out in the sea and it's all the same, I always gravitate to the person who is, I recently went somewhere, he had on a yellow suit, or it's always the person that is standing out from the sea of stuff. So
yes, please. Let's not be in the sea of same all the time. But
yes.
with corporate, you have to there are going to be those people who are authentically walking and living in who they are. And those are the people that for me, those are, like you said, those are the people I want to connect to and I want to hear from, because the people there's nothing wrong with the blue and black suit wearers, but the blue and black suit wearers often think the same.
Yes.
And they will be more prescriptive about something, a topic, or a situation. Whereas those who might have a floral suit on, right? Floral gist, whatever. I mean, those people are going to be like, wow, like that person's marching to the beat of their own drum.
Yes. And all of that is executive presence. It's, it's really at least the way that I have found it, in the way that I have been working with women, whoever you are authentically in a professional space or otherwise, that is an executive presence. So yeah, we could have had a whole show on this part. Yeah.
Right? Oh my God. Yes, we very much could have. Yeah. All right. So I think you said something really important earlier when you talked about when you don't know who you are, it is somewhat impossible for you to understand or know how to find purpose and how to actually ensure that you're doing the thing that you've been called to do. And so when we look at that, especially in the workplace, of course, we all want to make money. We work because we need to take care of ourselves and our families. But there is also a beautiful thing when you can align your purpose and your paycheck.
Yes, it is.
and what one of the things that really here at Glow Up Gyrl, we try to encourage women is to pursue that purpose. Find that purpose, step into it, walk in it, because you will find so much more joy.
Right.
Why do you feel it's important, to connect your purpose and your paycheck?
Well, for the past 2, maybe 3 years now, we have been seeing the effects of this pandemic. And one of several of the effects is that we had the Great Resignation and people are leaving their jobs at record numbers. And then we have the Great Breakup, where women are leading the charge with leaving their jobs. But overall, the pandemic showed us how fragile we are. Our mortality was right in our faces every day. And so when you're losing collections of people in that big of numbers, you really start to think about your life. What have I been doing with my life up until this point? And where do I want that life to go after this? So we're in a space where we're looking for meaning. So when people are leaving their jobs, they are leaving because they don't feel valued. They're leaving because they don't want to feel trapped. And so aligning that purpose and paycheck puts you in a space where you're always showing up for yourself, even if you are working for someone else. And so when you are completely, again, in alignment and you know what you are here to do, to be able to plug that in and plug in completely as yourself, which does not require code switching to do it. If you are in a space where you need to code switch, you are not in complete alignment with yourself. When you are in complete alignment and being paid for it, it is a level of fulfillment that it just nothing else can give you that when you know what you're here to do and you get paid.
Yes. And I really appreciate you speaking to it in terms of, that if you work for someone else, because I think, so often that, it's like, well, I have to be working. Of course. I mean, a lot of us have a dream to work for ourselves, but I think I love that you can find purpose in a job that is a job where you work for someone. They do exist. And I appreciate you recognizing and calling that out as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that success is how we define it. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, do that. If that is what you feel like your purpose is calling you to do that. But there are people who are in very successful jobs that they absolutely love, and
Mm-hmm.
that works too. And then there's people who are doing both, and that is okay too.
Exactly.
We've got to allow people to define success for themselves. So.
Exactly. And that's so true because, I mean, everything that you just said was so true about being in the pandemic and just realizing, like you said, that life was it's fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't know there was all this like uncertainty, but at the same time, there was this moment of like, whoa,
yeah,
I don't think that I want this for myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud every person who took a step forward to grab something that created joy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I always like to talk a lot about like happiness and joy. I'm like, happiness is like fleeting. Like you're gonna be happy today, experience a little sadness maybe the next day or maybe even that same day. But when you truly find joy, like it's a different feeling.
Right.
And you can find joy in a corporate work environment and also like working for yourself. So
absolutely. And
yes.
it just showed us we do not have as much time as we think we do.
No.
So tolling away in a place that makes you miserable, we all have control over that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like that's a whole nother episode too. Oh, that's a whole nother episode. Yes. Okay. So now what if women are out there listening, watching, and they're like, I feel you. Shereese, like I'm right there.
Yeah.
But I don't quite know what my purpose is yet. Like, how do I start? How do I find that? How do I begin to connect those two?
Yeah. So I usually work with people to answer 3 specific questions to start down the road. There are so many ways that we can come to it. Now, I am of the belief that the storytelling work that I do, we go deep. And I'm of the belief that your purpose has always been showing up in your life. You may have been ignoring it, or you may not have been able to put language to it, but it's always been there. And so the 3 questions that we start with is, what is an experience that you have had in your life that you don't want anyone else to have? Now, a lot of people teach purpose around pain. And a lot of times people do grow their purpose out of pain, but you got to be careful of that, because if you attach your purpose to a painful event, then you sometimes put yourself in the position of trying to tell people not to do something and martyr yourself because of it. So that it's a little sketchy. But if you think about it in terms of what is an experience that you have had that you don't want anyone else to have. So you want to start there and just brainstorm around those things. Then you want to ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? And this became a huge question during the pandemic, because if my life were to end right now, what do I want people to say about me? What is it that I have put in place that I wanted to be known for? But it becomes important as I'm living, because it allows me to know what to show up for and what things that I need to say no to, because I have defined what do I want to be known for. And then the third question is, what does the world lose if we do not know your story? So within your story, there has been lessons and life teachings that you came upon only because you lived it. And within the context of that life lesson, there is now something that somebody else can use. So I often like to say that the lesson, I learned it, but the lesson no longer belongs to me once I have figured it out. And so I call it like your Harriet, you find your Harriet Tubman moment, where you realize that you know something that nobody else knows. And then you go out into the world or back into your community and you start pulling people out to freedom, in the sense that now you can show people what you now know. So when you take those 3 questions together, you're able to look and see what is it that really matters to you. And then a lot of times people can see how it has been playing out over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find, if you are in the corporate world, you find a space where you're able to live out the parts of you that you want to be known for, and how you're able to put it in place for the thing that you don't want anyone else to experience.
Oh, I love that. How do this is just a question. How do people feel when you walk them through that exercise?
It's always a lot of tears, and I put people on game before we even start. It's usually emotional, but they always seem to walk away one kind of, I hear all the time, I feel lighter, or it gives them permission to do the thing. So many of us are gifted in so many ways, and we don't use those gifts because, again, we are tolling away at something that we're not happy doing, something that doesn't bring us joy because we feel like we have to. And I know, and you probably know as well, struggling is optional. We do not have to struggle.
Yes.
That we write that into the story. But
right?
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it's like this movie script that we feel like, because people get, like you said, like we've built in these dramas sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, I have to be unhappy at work so I can tell this story. No, you don't.
Yeah,
no, you don't. And I can remember, so I remember like when the first years, the pandemic in probably 2020, when we all like came home, and that was like blinders, everything was removed. I was like, oh wow. So you mean like I can have flexibility? I don't have to live, I don't have to show up. I don't have to be getting up at 4:00 every day in order to like work out and do all the things I need to do, and then get to work at 7 and then stay at work until 7 at night. You mean I don't have to do that? And it's just like this like removal of like, no, I'm not going to accept this anymore because I don't have to. Yeah. And so I remember for a whole year, like, okay, 2020, obviously, I mean, jobs sort of like the opportunities like halted because, we were all trying to figure out like, wow, like what's happening here. Yeah. And then 2021, when the jobs started, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gone. Like I'm going to find something. And I just remember telling people who would, team members and teammates who would like send me chats, Microsoft chats, and be complaining. I was like, well, you can do something about it. LinkedIn is very much active right now. And all you have to do is put yourself out there. And so I remember saying this, and I left that job earlier this year in April. And I just remember like, when I left, and it was like, oh my God, you're leaving us, you're getting out. And I was like, you too can get out. I mean, it's not, there's nothing written that says you have to take this anymore. You don't have to do this. And and I tell people this too, like with like going to jobs and, going in, I said, so, well, here's the one thing about working for a really long time and having triggers is like, I noticed triggers. Like I noticed very early on. And I was like, even at the job that I just left, I was there for a little 5.5 years. Even there, I knew that wasn't it for Kyra. But I also know that there are things God has for me that I have to learn. Yes. And sometimes you have to sit in it to make a different decision, to pass a different test. So I never was like, but I knew like, no, this ain't it, sis. We gonna need to do better in a few years. And I tell people that now. I'm like, even if you go into a job and you're like 3 months in, nope, it's okay for you. You can say, I'm going to find something different. You do not have to suffer in silence to get a year under your belt. And I see, people doing that all the time. Well, I'm just going to try to wait it out for a year. But no, nothing's going to change. They've already shown you who they are. I mean, Maya Angelou she says it best. I mean, she
Maya.
said it like when they show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yes.
So, but then yet especially women, we really, we got the three. Well, I know, but this time I was just hoping maybe like this time we'll do this project and this is going to be the one that's going to get me the raise or the increase. But meanwhile, you working like 80 hours a week while the man beside you is working 40 and he's getting the raise and you're still not getting the promotion and the bonus. And but then you're complaining on the side as opposed to taking action.
Exactly. And that is when I talked earlier about that martyr piece. We see this so much in women martyring themselves, falling on the sword. I'm not sure what we collectively be waiting on. Because it is not. And that, again, going back to what we first talked about, is why your personal brand becomes important. So there is several ways. If you come into a job 3 months in and you know that this ain't it, you can spend that time complaining every day about this not being it, or you can know this ain't it, but I'm going to go in here and do what I have to do as a means to an end, get the lesson that I'm supposed to get and get myself on out of here and do it with joy and happiness in your heart and keep it on moving. Not go in, decide you're going to, struggle it out, decide that you're going to ride it out. And those be the oppressive narratives that keep us stuck because we have decided to play into it versus taking ownership of the situation and say, you know what, I've got a choice here. Same as this person picked my resume, somebody else will pick my resume. Let's keep it moving and get your lessons and get on out, get the skill set you need, get on out.
Thank you. Yes. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, no, I am going and I'm picking up new skills.
Yes.
Like I'm adding to my toolkit so we can keep moving. Yes. And it's just, you're so right. It's that martyr. I'm going to be the martyr. I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to tell you about like how bad they treat me. And I do so much work and oh my gosh, I'm the only person producing on my team. And I'm up until 11 o'clock every night working. And then like I start super early the next day. Like I've heard, I'm hearing all these stories. I'm like, but what are you doing about it? And, and eventually like, I found, myself where there are like people who are constantly like, you're pouring into them. And this is like where you have to also have a boundary, everybody listening and watching, where you're trying to help those people who haven't quite like, they don't want to be free yet. They just still like saying they want to be free. Yes. And, and so you're like, okay, have you done your resume? Have you updated the resume? Oh, I know I need to update the resume. I know I need to. I've been saying I was like, okay, well then you haven't gotten to a place of like true frustration because I was like, first of all, my resume stays updated. Right. Like it's updated all the time. If I'm happy, if we good, it's still updated because you never know what opportunity is there for you to take you to that next. Yes. Stay ready. Don't have to get ready. And so I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, in my LinkedIn is always open for business. I mean, and so if I turn it off, there has to be no issue if I turn it back on and somebody's like, oh, her thing says she's open for like jobs. Nope, it's always open for jobs. It's always open for an opportunity. But I mean, I see that where somebody's, oh yeah, I know I need to update. Do you have any jobs? No, not for you, because guess what? You won't even update your resume. Right. So why do I want to bring you into my environment, my new environment, when you won't even do the things that you need to do? You want somebody to just roll you an opportunity so you can just easily just like with no effort, just get a job. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that people realize that the way that they show up in the world really does have an impact again on that personal brand and the way that you are perceived. And so if you have put yourself out there as the complainer, you're always the victim, you're not really taking action, those things are traveling with you. This is you. That is going to travel with you. And so you can be in front of people who have opportunities, but if you got in front of them by complaining about the opportunity that you are in, that's a no.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah, we good. I'm gonna pass on you. I mean, because I honestly had that discovery, over the last couple of months when I left the job and I really was trying to help someone who I know to be a hard worker, but at the same time, they weren't taking the actions to push forward.
Right.
And I'm like, I know how it feels to like be in a place where you're just like utterly like disgusted and you're like, nah, I can't do this no more. So you immediately, it doesn't matter the time of the night, you're going to log off your job and get on your personal computer, whatever, and update that resume and tear up LinkedIn. Because I was like blitzing LinkedIn like every night.
Hundreds of resumes on LinkedIn.
Exactly.
You're like,
yes. And I just, recalled like here recently, like the bill and the epiphany and all those things where I was like, wow, like, would you really want to bring that person into this environment, to this culture? Because they're a reflection of me. If I bring someone in and your brand is like suspect when you get there, and I just thought about like you said, all the things, like how do you show up for yourself? You're not showing up for you. So it's almost impossible for you to show up for others. So
yeah.
Ooh, yes, girl. I feel like we have covered
we covered so much.
These have been so many shows and shows and shows, other like things we could like come back and talk about. Now let's talk about something that is always tricky for women, which is, getting your money and getting paid, what advice can you share?
Getting your money and getting paid is going to come down to you, quite honestly, healing your relationship with money. Because women, even though we get paid less and we know that is an issue, some of us, and I've done it myself, I'm cured of it now, have not asked for the things that we know that we have not asked for a value. And a lot of us grew up in households where we were hearing things like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Money doesn't grow on trees. You had to negotiate for that $2 Happy Meal. Those things, you really did. And those things have become ingrained. We don't see money as we should see money when we don't have a good relationship with it. So really, in order to ask for what you want, you have to have healed that relationship with money. You have to know that you are worth it. You have to know that it's okay for you to ask. And it's okay for them to say no. And it's okay for you to say, okay, I might not get it here, but I'm going to get it somewhere else. You have to know your value. You have to know that the things that you have lived through, the things that you have been taught, all of that has a monetary value and a significance to the workforce. And until you know that, you're going to struggle with that. And I want to say this to the women that are listening. We have got to come up off this, I'm so humble, I'm so grateful thing, because we all are grateful to be alive. We're grateful to make money. We do that. But we are like, oh God, I'm so humble. I mean, I'm just so grateful for what I get. Ma'am, you have earned your spot. Nobody gave you nothing. So if you are coming from the place of you're serving from humility, from just being grateful to be in the room, you are not coming from the place of your highest self to be able to say, no, I earned this, and this is what my skills are worth. So those two things, we have to be able to pull it together to go in the room and demand what we know we need.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes to all of that, because oh my God, like so many things like that. I'm grateful. Yes, and like you, I recovered from that as well. because girl, I felt you on that Happy Meal. Used to be in the back seat of the car, just like begging. Okay, so
Right.
what can I do? What can I
Yes.
do when we get home? I can
Right.
do some extra chores if you get this Happy Meal for me.
Yes, because we don't have McDonald's at home, contrary to what we kept getting told.
Exactly. Like, no, I don't want to go home and eat that ham sandwich. Sorry, no.
Right.
But you are so that's so true, because if you don't ask for it, if you don't ask for what you deserve, you will not get it. Because I mean, okay, I'm going to digress and tell a quick story. When my very first job was at a PR agency, and I was the PR, I'd interned with them, and I was the PR coordinator. And I got shafted. I will admit they shafted me because she asked me, the president of the company asked me, oh yeah, so where are you living right now? And at the time I was living with my aunt, because I mean, I didn't have a job interning. And so she was like, yeah, so are you going to be there for a while? And, I'm young I'm just straight right out of college. And I was just like, I mean, for a little bit, but then I'm going to like be moving out hopefully soon. My best friend like graduated from college, but she underpaid me because I was living with somebody who was a more adult than I was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then, when I got ready to move out on my own, I went back and I asked for more money. And she was looking at me crazy and said, yes, but I think you like pulled the wool over my eyes, if we're being honest, in the beginning. And I said, and you would not pay somebody, you wouldn't ask a guy those questions about whether or not he was going to be living with somebody to determine what his salary was. Like I said, I mean, the salary should just be based on the job description, the role, and the responsibilities. And let's just call it like fair at that. And I know she was looking at me crazy, but we negotiated. And I got more money, but it's just one of those things where you have to stand up for yourself. You have to be willing to take that risk.
Because the reality is, nobody is going to just walk in one day and say, you know what, you've been doing such a great job, I'm going to just go ahead and give you. Now, you may get that cost of living raise, and even sometimes they may or may not. But this idea that I'm just going to work and work and work and someone's going to see my value, no, ma'am, that's not how it works. You have to advocate for yourself. Yes. And it is so much better to do it at the beginning before you take the job than it is in the middle. It's harder, but it still can be done. Right. You just have to keep track of your successes. And we are so bad at doing this. It's
I feel like you just spitting the knowledge that I like, girl. I am always saying exactly what you said. Like, nobody is going to, like, your manager is too busy, quite honestly, to remember all your successes.
Yes.
So absolutely. Just have them ready in a decorated book, a spread, whatever you need to put it out there so that they know, oh, wow, like, I didn't realize you had increased this by this percentage, or that your ads were, sending over this amount of sales. But again, like you said, women it's the humbleness about, oh, well, I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm showing off.
Honey, it's not showing off when it's true. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing that you always hear is, well, I didn't want to feel like, okay, well, let me just tell you, and no offense to our male listeners, watchers out there, like none at all. These are just personal experiences. I mean, but Bob beside you, he'll have a problem talking about your work and making it seem like it was his work. I mean, yeah, we increased that by, what was that again, Kyra? Oh,
like we increased it.
Yeah.
Not Kyra. You know what I mean? Be like, well, actually, Bob, I was the one. We need to start taking control of our successes. If you are ever in a meeting and you have an idea and somebody mansplains over top the idea, and then it becomes, oh my God, Bob, that was such a great idea. I'm sorry, Bob, did you just rephrase what I said? Bob, that was a great idea that I had. You know what I mean? We got to do it.
But most times he don't even rephrase it. He took it. He said it the same way you said it to him like 2 meetings ago. Right. And he brought it in, and oh my gosh, the mansplaining is a whole nother one. Cause I mean, I would quickly be like, so wait, let me get this straight. So you're trying to mansplain that to me? Oh, wait, what are you talking about? And I was like, what you doing? Exactly what you're doing right now. That's
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
oh my gosh.
As women, we always have our competence question, especially women of color. There's always a competence question around what we do. So you have to write down the successes. Even we don't even remember how great we are sometimes. Yeah. So there's no problem in writing it down, keeping it for yourself and knowing the value of what you bring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because like you said, because we have a hard time remembering because we are always operating in excellence. Mm-hmm. And so when you operate in excellence all the time, I mean, you operate in a way that you think other people should just operate that way too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but to your point, I do this myself where I'm like, okay, let me I'm gonna jot this down in my like OneNote. Mm-hmm. Did this, accomplish this, got this done this week, so that there are no issues when we come to the table, talk about why I'm asking you for some additional dollars right now.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. All right. So tell us, how do we take this discussion? How do you take it into the workplace and beyond?
We're going to go back to those questions and knowing, and even though I usually start with, if you're already in the workplace and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what an experience is that no one else can have, then start with, what do you want to be known for? And that could be, I want to be known for a good leader. I want to be known to be great in whatever field of expertise that you're in. I want to be known for not being nice, but I want to be known for being kind, assertive, the things that make you, ask for the things that you want, right? So what do you want to be known for? Start there. And then look and see if how you are showing up at work aligns with what you want to be known for. If there is a discrepancy, because most of us aren't showing up how we want to be known, but if there is a discrepancy there, figure out what is going to take for you to fix it. So if you want to be known for being a leader, the title doesn't make anybody a leader. The salary doesn't make you a leader. It is how you position yourself and how you move authentically that makes you a leader. It's not about being rude. It's not about being bossy. It's not about being controlling of people. It is, how are you moving authentically? Because leadership truly is a relationship with yourself, and then how you translate that to other people. So if you are working for people that you consider bad leaders or bosses, that means they don't have a good relationship with self. So if you want to be a good leader and you need some stuff worked out, go work out that stuff. Mm-hmm. So start with, what do you want to be known for? And if there are discrepancies, figure out how you can fix it. Now, if you are in a position in the workplace where it's time for your review, it's time for you to ask for a raise, maybe you've been there a while, you've seen some people get promoted, you have, still at the same salary, then you need to go back through the history of you being there and determine, what have you contributed to that has brought in money, that has saved people time, that has actually boosted egos and made other people look good, because they pay you for that too. And then put a value to that and go ask for it. And at the end of the day, know that you always are in control, and make a decision. Even if it's a tough decision that you have to go, you have to make a decision and decide that you are not going to suffer just for the sake of suffering.
Ooh, I love that. I feel like y'all got y'all key takeaways right there. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to transition to 3 things with Shereese. I mean, that was a great conversation. I mean,
It was.
Y'all gonna see Shereese back. We gonna have to invite her over to the career series. Right now, I know it's just a solo. It's usually just me, but I'm gonna ask her to come over there as well. All right, Shereese, tell us how you start and end the day.
OMG. Okay, so oh gosh. So I start the day with jazz. When I get up in the morning, I tell Alexa to turn on the jazz. And then I have this little piece of heaven that I bought. It's my little luxury item. It's a towel warmer. And so I make sure that every time that I'm out of the shower and I have on that towel warmer and the jazz is going, that I am able to get myself to this place where I am grateful to be alive. Yes, indeed. And what value do I want to bring to my day? So I ask myself that every morning.
Awesome. I love that. And how do you end your day?
Ending my day is really not as fabulous as the way that I start the day. Ending my day is normally with a laptop in the bed, the TV on, until I fall asleep and, it's just a wrap. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you are someone who sets goals or intentions, what's one you set for yourself this year and how's that going for you?
Oh, wow. I actually turned 50 this year in January of 2022. And my goal was to do 50 new experiences. And that was the goal. And so I am about 3 months away from my 51st birthday and 10 items away from hitting the 50. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, tell us, last question is what's one thing that's on the horizon for you next year in 2023?
Oh gosh. So my company is switching over to, right now we do leadership programming for universities and corporations. And so we have decided, because of the success of the programs, that we're starting to license those out to individuals to be able to teach what we do. It's really believe in the power of women's stories. And so this year is like the end of an era with like working with clients one-on-one and group coaching and moving more into how to make the impact to really get women to the point of asking for the things that they want and understanding their value.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. How can the audience connect to you?
My favorite place online is LinkedIn. So just search for me there, or feel free to email me at Shereese, SHEREESE @witnessmylife.org.
Awesome. And we'll also drop the links in the show notes. All right. So lastly, I will leave you with an opportunity to give the audience 3 things you'd like for them to take away from this conversation. You've given us so many great nuggets.
3 things that I want you to take away. Number 1, you are the only person on the planet that can do what you do in the way that you do it. So please believe in yourself and go after the thing you want. Number 2, you do not have as much time as you think you do. So make sure that the time that you have, you use it to further your life and enjoy the life that you have. Enjoy every breath that you take. And then number 3, misery happens, but struggling is optional. And struggling does not have to be a part of your story. And start writing a different story. Start telling yourself different things and watch how your life will change.
Oh, I love those. Love it. Well, thank you, Shereese, so much for this conversation, for all of these great nuggets. It has just been, I'm tickled because I just love chatting with you.
It has been really fun.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thanks again to Shereese for joining the show today. If you'd like to learn more about her, check out all the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Gyrl, visit us at glowgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest on the show or tell a friend. Grab our social links and so much more. Also, I hope you're checking out the Career Focused podcast episodes as well. It's where I share personal experiences from my career journey. These episodes are great for anyone who is looking to just understand how to elevate in their career, how to pivot in your career, how to deal with the people in your everyday life, and also maybe someone who's trying to figure out, what am I good at? What are my strengths? What should I be doing in my life? Either way, there is a mix of topics relating to career development, all waiting for you there at glowupgirl.com or your favorite podcast platform. Thank you all again so much for supporting and tuning in today. And I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.